Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark.
And I'm Randy.
Today we're taking a look at CALAS.
CALAS plays 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, and each game takes 1 to 2 hours to play.
Alright, let's see if you can be the next ruler of CALAS. Alright, the first thing you're going to do for setup is everyone's going to get their own leader. Now, all these leaders are color-coded. Along with the leader, you get a player guide, you're going to get development tokens in that leader's color, and the leader will also get 2 characters from his faction or her faction. And then a set of dice cards, and these dice cards will allow you to manipulate dice rolls in the future.
At the beginning of the game, each player is also given a set of tiles. These tiles represent their leader's base, the associated city, a set of mines, villages, and public guild halls. Players take turns placing these tiles on the board to form a series of interconnecting roads connecting their leader's base to the central city and also to other roads. Players then take the development tokens of their color and put them beneath or near those tiles to indicate to other players who owns those tiles. Next, players use military units from the ones they've been given at the beginning of the game to defend their tiles. Players then take the miniature representing their leader and put it on the appropriate base and put a marker at the beginning of the honor track. Now, if you have 4 players and you're new to the game, we recommend you use the default configuration shown in the tutorial and also set up here.
You're also given a set of income reference tokens. These tokens do several things. You have honor, you have soldiers, and you have miners. Now, ultimately, you're really after the honor because that's what's going to give you score throughout the game. And these tokens might be won and lost as you progress through the game, but really that's the main thing you're after. And of course, you got to have soldiers to help you along your way and miners. All right, so you're ready to play. Each round has 2 phases. You have the action phase and the income phase. And right out of the gate, you're going to be moving. You're going to be rolling the red dice and moving your leader or your miniature. And this will move you across the different city paths, and you'll land on potentially different villages and things that you can explore.
Once you've moved, you'll have several choices on what to do next, depending upon the type of tile you've landed upon and whether it belongs to you, one of your opponents, or is unoccupied. Let's start with the simplest case, and that is the green guild hall tile, because guild halls are public and don't belong to anyone. If you land on a guild hall, you'll have 3 options on what to do. The first is to draw 2 cards from the strategy deck. Now, these cards don't cost anything to draw, but they do cost to play, and the way you pay the cost is in soldiers and returning them from your stash back to the pool. Your second option is to recruit 1 character from the set of face-up character cards near the board. These characters cost 2,000 soldiers to recruit.
Pricey.
They are very pricey.
Very pricey.
Now, that's not as pricey, though, as the development tiles.
This is true.
You have the option of accumulating up to 3 development tiles.
Mm-hmm.
The first one costs 2,000 soldiers, the second 4,000, and the third 6,000. So you get very pricey. Now, these must be, once you've acquired them, they must be immediately put near or beneath the tiles you own to help fortify those locations, beginning with the least developed tiles.
Now, if you move and you land on a tile that you own, you have the opportunity to enhance or lower your number of soldiers on this location. Now, if you land on a location, be it a city, a village, or a mine that isn't owned by anybody, then you can place soldiers here and a development token and own this space. Now, if you land on a location that has been occupied by one of your rival leaders, then you have some choices to make. You can either end your turn, especially with the village or the mine, or the city, but you have to pay a toll at the city.
Right.
So, or you can ultimately go to battle. And there are 3 different types of battle. But the other thing about paying the toll that's nice in a city is that you can gain honor.
If you land in a city, village, or mine owned by one of your opponents, you have the option of entering into a war of aggression. Now, a war of aggression is the type of battle you would engage in if you want to take control of that location, or at the very least decimate your opponent.
Yes,
there, okay?
And that's really part of the strategy to do. Right?
This is a battle game.
It is.
So there is some of that. The way you enter a war of aggression is that the attacker, the person who moved into that location that they do not own, one of the opponents owns, they would put forward one or more of the characters from their team, as well as all of the soldiers from their team.
Right.
And that's their contingent that's entered into battle. Likewise, the defender, the person who owns that location, would take one or more of their characters and all of the soldiers they'd position in that location, and they would position them into battle. Okay. Each player would take 2 dice. Now, the dice they use will be determined by the powers of those characters, because the characters that are put into battle do have abilities to alter the value of dice, and if they have a character that increases the value of the dice by 1, they would use at least one of the dice they would use would, instead of being a 1 through 6, it would be a 2 through a 7. And character powers are cumulative, so if they had 2 of those, instead of using, they might use 2 of those dice, or regular dice and a dice that goes from 3 through 8, for example. So the dice that are used are based upon the type of character powers that are involved. Each of the 2 players would roll 2 dice, the appropriate dice, and the person who has the highest value wins that attack. The loser would discard an appropriate number of soldiers depending upon which location they're battling in. Okay, this would continue until one player has no more soldiers left,
wiped out,
and they have officially lost the battle.
Indeed.
Now, what comes next is based upon whether you're the defender or you're the attacker. If you're the person who owned that location and you've lost, you must discard all of the development tokens that were under or beside that location, indicating you owned it. If you're the attacker, you now have the option of putting your own development tokens, the same number of development tokens that were discarded, under or beside that tile to indicate you now own it. Now, of course, you also have the option of simply saying, "Nope, I'm going to abandon this. I'm not investing my development tokens in."
I'm just trying to get you out of there.
Yeah, exactly. So I wiped out your ability to earn anything from that location.
Right.
So you have that option. Additionally, depending upon the location that you were at, honor tokens and soldier tokens and minor tokens might be granted to the winner and might be taken away from the loser.
Exactly. Now, if you're in a city, another option is champion warfare. And this is where you can take one of your characters and pit it against somebody else's character. And basically, you're taking the dice and you're rolling back and forth. Any matching dice are going to be re-rolled. But basically, you're going to win if you're 3 out of 5 turns, then you will win the fight. Now, if you're the attacker, you're really looking at decreasing and taking out the certain number of soldiers in that city. And you're going to remove 1,000 soldiers, right?
Unless the city is level 5
Unless
or
it's
above.
level 5, then it's 2,000, right?
Exactly.
You're going to take those soldiers. So that's pretty heavy duty, and your goal is just to eliminate soldiers and troops.
Yeah. Now, the benefit of champion warfare is you don't have to commit a certain number of troops up front. Okay, so your goal is you're sending one champion out there and they're duking it out, and whoever wins has that benefit. A certain number of soldiers, well, I should say it this way, a certain number of soldiers are taken from the city if the attacker wins. The defender needs to be in a position where he can adequately defend, because he doesn't really get a lot out of this battle.
That is so, he doesn't get anything out of this battle,
he doesn't.
Yeah.
If you're in a city, the third type of combat you can choose is called an honor fight. Now, it has similarities to each of the 2 previous types of combat we've talked about. It's similar to a war of aggression in the sense that you can choose one or more of your characters to put into the battle, and you are also responsible for putting a certain number of soldiers into the battle as well. Like the champion warfare, it can last up to 5 rounds. Okay, in fact, it lasts exactly 5 rounds. And like that, if you roll same values, you must re-roll your dice. Now, the difference is this. Each round of the honor fight, whoever wins the attack kills a certain number of soldiers from the other side, from the loser, and also gets an honor point. So after 5 rounds, this is over. But the benefit is, if you're victorious in each of those rounds, you can accumulate quite a few honor points, and you can decimate your opponent's soldiers.
And ultimately, that's what you're after, is these honor points.
These honor points. So this can be a very good way of doing that, but you need to make certain that you're putting the right characters in the battle.
Yes, you do.
And one thing we haven't mentioned before is that once you've used a character in a battle, the cards flip face down, and they're not refreshed until the income phase.
That's right.
So
use them wisely.
Use them wisely. That's very key.
Now, one of the ways to mitigate bad dice rolls,
which I have frequently.
Yes, he does, is that you have this set of dice cards, and basically you can change one for a bad dice roll. You swap it out. And what happens then is that you flip the card over. It is no longer usable until after the income phase.
During each round of the action phase, each player has a chance to move and take the appropriate actions, potentially including combat.
Right.
There are 4 rounds in the action phase, each tracked by the large die there. After 4 rounds are complete, the action phase is finished and the income phase begins.
All right, so we're in the income phase, and this is where you'll find the fruits of your labors.
That's right.
Right? So for every soldier token, you're going to be gaining another 1,000 soldiers.
Right.
And for every miner token you have, you're going to be getting development tokens. Right?
Right, and those have to be placed on your least developed locations.
Exactly. And for every honor token you have, that's where you'll get to move your token along the track on your way to glory.
Now, what you're trying to get is 60 points, and
Yes.
whoever gets 60 honor points first is the winner of the game and the ruler of CALAS.
Indeed. And then finally, you're going to refresh all your cards. So all your dice cards come back, all your character cards come back, and the pool of character cards basically gets shuffled back under the deck, and the new set comes out.
Right.
So every round has a new faces, new fresh faces to look at, and some potentially new characters to have in your stable. All right, let's take a closer look at what all these different troop types are worth, starting with the lowest, the lowly soldiers. Each of these is worth 500.
Your horsemen are worth 1,000 each.
Nice. And then you've got battering rams that are worth 2,000. And then finally trebuchets that are worth 5,000 units. All right, folks, just a reminder again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview. Everything you've seen here is in prototype form. So the artwork and rules still might be changing. So keep an eye on the campaign. With that said, you know, I really did like the fact that the board was variable and modular in a way that it's going to be different for each play, keeping the game fresh.
And one of the things I appreciate about the game was the fact that the honor income and the soldier income tokens make me think of, well, the soldier income tokens make me think of credibility amongst the military. People come to you, soldiers come to you if they say, wow, there's a good leader. Right. So it kind of is thematic in that way. And the honor income tokens, I'd actually like to hear them called like legend tokens, or reputation tokens. Because as you do things that are worthy of honor, either by paying a toll, which is you're just a good guy, you just go to a city and you pay the toll, which is an honorable thing, or you win a battle, you know, you get honor from that as well. So these are things which increase your reputation, and ultimately that's what wins the game, is having the best reputation.
Exactly. All right, folks, so if this looks like a game that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they would appreciate your support. So I think that's it from us.
That's it.
And until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.